This page is the front cover of a magazine featuring Donkey Kong prominently. It announces the start of the Game Boy software writing service and 64DD pre-orders from November 11th. The cover promotes content related to a reader participation Nintendo calendar and map strategies. Featured games include Donkey Kong 64, Mario Party 2, Goemon's Great Adventure, Castlevania 64, Resident Evil 2, Custom Robo, and Pokémon Gold and Silver, alongside other titles. There is also a special appendix featuring GB rewritable titles and Letters from Giant Island. The cover also mentions Zelda Gaiden, referring to a side story in the Zelda series as a new information scoop. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game GRANDUEL, subtitled Secret Treasure of the Deep Dungeon, which is described as a hot-blooded adventure dungeon card battle. The artwork features a character holding a card and a cute pink creature in a dungeon setting. This page is an advertisement for a card battle game for the Game Boy. It highlights features like dueling rivals to become stronger, exploring dungeons to collect cards, and the game boasts approximately 8,000 card types. The screenshots display typical turn-based card battles with HP indicators and in-game text boxes. The cards shown have attack and defense stats and AP points. The game is called Card Battle Evolution and is scheduled for release on November 26, 1999. Priced at 4,500 yen. It is developed by BOTOMUP and is compatible with both Game Boy Color and original Game Boy systems, supporting infrared communication and communication cables. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Quiz Adventure by TAITO, released in 1999. The game features 3 modes. Original mode, where you explore fields. Treasure mode, where you embark on a quiz adventure to defeat monsters, create drawings, and collect over 100 treasures to uncover secrets. And battle mode, for battles with friends using a communication cable to win items from your opponent. The game is advertised for release on October 22nd, priced at 3,980 yen. This page is the contents page for a 1999 December issue of a Japanese gaming magazine, showcasing a variety of N64 and Game Boy content. It highlights major articles, including the latest information on the 64DD, Game Boy titles like a Mario DX game, and a feature on The Legend of Zelda Gaiden. Other prominent game articles featured are Donkey Kong 64, Mario Party 2, Star Twins, Goemon Mononoke Sugoroku Castlevania, Apocalypse, Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, Custom Robo, and Super Robot Wars 64. The page also lists regular features like release calendars, game rankings, reader contributions, and articles covering SFC and GB games, such as Pokémon Gold and Silver and Atelier Marie. November is a busy month for N64 game releases, with 11 titles planned, including highly anticipated games like Akumajo Dracula, Mokushiroku, Gaiden Legend of Cornell, and Mystical Ninja 2 starring Goemon. Delays for 64DD software such as Doshin the Giant One and Mario Artist Paint Studio are noted, but overall N64 game availability remains strong, with more releases expected even beyond the year 2000. Pokémon Gold and Silver for Game Boy Color is highlighted as a major release, expected to be a bestseller. The calendar section also lists Game Boy titles releasing in November, including Clustar, Little Magic, Kurapon Densetsu, and Joryu Kishi Monogatari GB. The Coming Soon section previews Yako Bugyo 2 Aki no Jin, alongside screenshots of other upcoming games. This N64 Dream ranking page presents 2 lists: the reader-selected anticipated new work Top 20 and the This is Selling N64 Software Top 10. The anticipated list features Zelda's Legend Gaiden at number 1, followed by Mother 3 and Star Kirby 64. The selling software list is led by Super Smash Bros., with Mario Golf 64 and Pokémon Stadium 2 in the top 3. The Words of the Month section notes that the anticipated rankings are stabilizing, and release dates are becoming clearer. Mario Party 2 is a new entry in the selling software list. The page also highlights Winback, a 3D gun action game, praising its unique cover-based shooting mechanics and engaging multiplayer battles. A 64Dream magazine survey from October explored reader anticipation for new N64 games and their favorite game endings. Polls revealed the top 20 most anticipated games across 3 age groups, with Zelda no Densetsu Gaiden and Mother 3 consistently ranking high. Other popular titles included Super Mario RPG 2, Donkey Kong 64, and Biohazard 2. A separate poll determined the top 30 games with good endings, where The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was overwhelmingly favored, followed by Super Mario 64 and Star Fox 64. This list included games from various consoles. Finally, the survey detailed hardware ownership, indicating N64 owners averaged 10.6 game cartridges, while Game Boy owners had 11.4 games on average. The magazine's editorial team was impressed by the readers' extensive game collections. This page is a preview for the Japanese release of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, referred to here as Zelda no Densetsu Gaiden, Kari, which translates to Zelda Side Story, temporary title. The page highlights the game's focus on music and masks, emphasizing that wearing different masks will change the instruments Link plays. Screenshots showcase Link with an ocarina, a Goron playing a taiko drum, a Zora playing a guitar, and a Deaconuts playing trumpets, illustrating this instrument transformation. It also mentions the possibility of 4 players joining in for a musical performance using 4 controllers. The game is detailed as a 3D action RPG for 1 player, requiring a memory expansion pack and supporting a rumble pack, with a release date set for March 2000 at a price of 6,800 yen. The article also mentions the excitement generated at Space World in August for Link's return, and the new puzzle-solving elements in this Zelda adventure. This text explores character predictions for a Zelda side story, Majora's Mask. There's speculation about reuniting with Twinarova at a shop, potentially selling medicine, and whether Kume is involved. The text highlights a desire to bring back lesser-known characters, with the Forest Sage sisters mentioned as potential candidates. Quote, numerous character predictions are offered. These include a cursed family seeking more than just money, a Keaton mask enthusiast, a carpenter out of place, the carpenter's gender-bent siblings, a mysterious figure with obscured vision, a pair in a possibly contentious relationship, a researcher at Lake Laboratory, fan-favorite characters like the Cuckoo Sisters, Bombchu Bowling Alley Aunt, Gravekeeper Dampe, and the Man from Windmill Hut, the Fishing Pond Uncle, and a Kokiri tribe child. The Bean Shop's potential return and the Marathon Man's rematch are also suggested. Gameplay screenshots are included, illustrating Link's location and the game's time mechanic. This page is dedicated to Donkey Kong 64. It highlights the game with screenshots showing gameplay and the Kong characters. The game's release date is confirmed as December 10th, priced at 7,800 yen, including the memory expansion pack, and it's an action game supporting 1 to 4 players. It also notes the game requires the memory expansion pack and is compatible with the Rumble Pack. The text expresses excitement about the release date being set around Christmas, and mentions this could be a Christmas present. Diddy Kong is also specifically featured with his name highlighted, and a small text box points to a screenshot discussing barrels marked with "O" and a floating symbol, likely explaining an in-game element. This page is about Donkey Kong 64. It mentions that the story begins on a peaceful island in the beautiful southern sea where the Kongs live. However, King K. Rool and his Kremling army attack. This game is presented as a 3D action-adventure, unlike the Super Famicom Super Donkey Kong series, where Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong were kidnapped. This time, King K. Rool is up to something again. The page highlights that the adventure begins on Donkey Kong Island, which is now an artificial island created by King K. Rool, and the question is, what are the Kremlings planning to do? It also shows screenshots of gameplay, including King K. Rool, a gear-like mechanism, and Tiny Kong. It mentions that you'll be running around stages and defeating enemies with new actions in this 3D adventure. Tiny Kong is also introduced as one of the characters. The text mentions that you can watch the TV anime Donkey Kong on TV Tokyo and other national networks every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. This page is all about getting to grips with the basics in Donkey Kong 64. It's titled, Let's Exercise, and features Cranky Kong teaching the player the fundamental actions. The page shows 4 key moves: swimming, bomb, barrel, and jump, each with a screenshot and explanation of how they work in the game. It mentions that even though the adventure is about to begin, it's important to learn the basic controls from Cranky Kong first. The page highlights these actions are additions to the Super Donkey Kong action set and will be useful for overcoming various situations. This page highlights Donkey Kong 64, showcasing the unique abilities of two Kong characters, Chunky and Lanky, in their upcoming adventure. The text emphasizes that each of the 5 Kongs has different skills that are crucial for progressing through the game and overcoming challenges. For Lanky Kong, the page details his sliding tail attack, described as a spinning attack using his tail, increasing jump distance. It also showcases his handstand Lanky ability, another spinning attack performed while doing a handstand, likened to breakdancing. Chunky Kong's abilities are also featured. His peanut pop gun is highlighted as his weapon, and his powerful Chunky ability emphasizes his strength, stating he can move heavy objects. The page includes screenshots demonstrating these abilities in action within the game environments. It mentions that players will need to utilize these unique Kong abilities to tackle the adventure and defeat the large boss characters that will appear. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Star Twins, a shooting adventure game for 1 to 4 players. The game was released on November 27, 1999, and priced at 6,800 yen. We are introduced to the main characters Vela, Lupus, and Juno, and screenshots highlight the gameplay, which involves shooting. The text mentions that just 2 weeks after the release of Donkey Kong 64, Star Twins is introduced as a shooting title, where players use unique weapons like shuriken to fight insect-type robot armies in exciting shooting action against enemies from all directions. This page spotlights the N64 game Space Invaders 64, known in Japan under the title Invader Mazer, The Devil's Hand from Space. It introduces the story of Juno and Valara, strong twin siblings, and their robot dog companion, who are fighting against the evil invader Mazer to save the universe and restore peace. The article details the gameplay as a 3D action shooter with single-player and multiplayer modes. It emphasizes the 24-player versus battles and target modes, making it clear this is a game that's great fun with friends. Screenshots illustrate the 3D gameplay, character designs, and various environments, showcasing both the single-player exploration and the chaotic fun of multiplayer. Characters such as Magnus, who provides information, and Lupus, who can hover, are also mentioned as allies. This page is a preview for Mario Party 2. The article announces the release date is set for December 17th, promising year-end and New Year fun with the game. It highlights that new stages and minigames have been added, making it even more exciting. The game is described as a theme park-like board game for up to 4 players, featuring familiar Mario characters and a world that reflects the Mario universe. Screenshots show gameplay with characters like Mario and Peach in minigame scenarios, with mentions of coins and minigames. The game supports vibration packs for added immersion. This page introduces the Western Land stage from Mario Party 2. The stage is themed like a Western drama, where players can feel like gunslingers or bodyguards. A key feature of this stage is the locomotive train system, which allows players to travel between stations by paying coins. It's mentioned that sometimes the train might even go in reverse. A new addition to this stage is the item space. Landing on this space triggers a minigame called Kanken Tore, and successfully completing it can reward players with items, like the super mushroom shown in one of the screenshots. The page highlights that using items strategically is important. Characters like Mario and his friends are depicted in Western-style costumes, fitting the stage's theme. This page introduces Pirate Land from Mario Party 2, highlighting the pirate theme and treasure hunting aspect of this board. It explains 2 key features of Pirate Land. Firstly, there's the Coin Fairy Hojoro event, where by paying 5 coins to the shark character, players can be transported to the adjacent island, essentially taking a shortcut. However, if you land on this space going in the opposite direction, you cannot avoid paying the coin to pass. The second feature is the Space event on this board, where players landing on it risk getting hit by a cannonball fired from a ship's cannon, which sends them all the way back to the start. The screenshots show the board layout and these specific events in action, alongside the characters dressed in pirate costumes. Mario Party 2's minigames are a core part of the game's appeal. Players enjoy these diverse mini-challenges as they progress. Featured here are several minigames, each offering unique gameplay. Canopio Block, a block-hitting race. Daken Sensha, a 4-player tank battle. Slider Bobsleigh, a penguin racing game. Speed hockey, a fast-paced hockey match. Akimuit, Kochi, a pointing game. Kurayami hammer, a hide-and-seek style game. Matoate shot, a target shooting game emphasizing control. And Otoshite Itadaki Kinoko, a mushroom collecting competition. These mini-games showcase a variety of mechanics and objectives, offering fun and competitive experiences for all players. This page is a preview for the N64 game Goemon Mononoke Sugoroku, which translates roughly to Goemon's Mononoke board game, and it was released only in Japan. It's described as a card battle and board game hybrid, a new type of Goemon game. The page explains the game's core mechanics. Goemon Mononoke Sugoroku is described as not just a regular board game, but a card battle game set on a board. The page details the gameplay flow, where players defeat opponents using cards and collect more cards. The preview then breaks down how to play into 3 steps. Firstly, player selection. It mentions that 1 to 4 players can play simultaneously, and you choose a player character. Character selection influences abilities in some way. Stage selection. Players choose a stage to play on. The stage graphics are described as unique and comical. The game has 2 modes: a single-player story mode against the computer, and a versus mode for multiplayer enjoyment. Thirdly, deck building. Players start with a deck of 50 cards and combine them strategically. Battle is decided by using these cards. You can build up to 8 decks. The game also has features like deck saving, collection viewing, passwords, and card trading. Finally, there's a section highlighting a bonus feature. By using the Game Boy game Ganbare Goemon Mononoke Dushu Tobidase Nabeshin, you can obtain special Mononoke cards to use in the N64 game. This is done by inputting a password from the GB version. This page explains gameplay mechanics, likely for a board game or strategy game on the N64. It details the game flow starting with game initiation, where you draw 6 cards for your hand, then describes drawing cards from the mountain pile automatically. You can use special cards during your player phase. The page also describes using dice to move, and what happens when you land on an empty space or a space with an enemy, leading to battle. It mentions summoning and leveling up things on empty spaces, and engaging in battles where the winner is decided by stats and special cards. The page stresses the importance of deck building and understanding land and thing attributes for strategic gameplay. There are screenshots of in-game scenes demonstrating these mechanics, showing character sprites and card-like elements. It encourages players to consider deck composition and land attributes to win battles. This page is a preview for the Japanese N64 game Akumajo Dracula Mokushiroku Gaiden, Legend of Cornell, known internationally as Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness. The page highlights Cornell, the main character, described as a beast man who uses ancient sorcery. It mentions the game as an action title for 1 player, with a release date of December 16th, and a price of 7,800 yen. The game is noted as requiring 128 MB memory and a backup cartridge. Featured on the page is also a mysterious woman named Actrice, with the text questioning whether she is friend or foe to Cornell. Gameplay screenshots show Cornell in action, showcasing the game's perspective and environments. The text emphasizes that this is a new battle, an exciting development in the series. This page features the game Castlevania 64. It introduces the character Cornell, who can transform into a werewolf when his power is charged. The Grim Reaper, Death, also appears in the game as a formidable enemy to test players' strength, and his presence is tied to a mystery from 8 years prior to the game's events. It's also revealed that both Carrie and Reinhardt are playable characters if certain conditions are met, and players can enjoy the director's cut version as a bonus. The screenshots showcase gameplay with Cornell in human and werewolf forms, battling enemies and using special moves, and also a glimpse of death in action. Resident Evil 2 for the N64, developed by Capcom, is a port of the PlayStation version with added original elements, slated for a December release. This survival horror game for 1 player utilizes the vibration and memory expansion packs. The N64 version aims to be a complete port, appealing to both new and returning players. Key additions include the random set feature, which randomizes item placement for increased replayability and unpredictability. The EX file feature introduces collectible documents that expand the game's narrative, revealing hidden story aspects and character relationships. An example, Robert's soiled note hints at connections to characters from the original Resident Evil. The article also includes screenshots of gameplay, showing environments and characters. This page is about Biohazard 2, known as Resident Evil 2 internationally. It showcases the game's bioorganic weapon and G-Virus, focusing on the G-Virus and its third form, describing how it mutates living creatures at a genetic level, turning humans into monsters. It mentions the Umbrella Corporation's research into the G-Virus and its connection to the Raccoon City disaster. The page questions whether G-creatures feel pain. The page then introduces the BOW Tyrant, a bioweapon developed by Umbrella, specifically the code T002 type. It highlights its creation at Umbrella's research facility, its obedience to given commands, and its immense power. It notes the Tyrant's presence during the Mansion incident, and that this version is closer to human in appearance compared to earlier T002 models, while possessing overwhelming power. Finally, the page details monsters created by the spilled T-Virus. It explains how the T-Virus outbreak in Raccoon City transformed humans into zombies and animals into monstrous forms. It features 3 types of T-Virus monsters: Ivy, described as a walking plant weapon using poison and digestive enzymes; Crow, mutated crows that became violent and aggressive in the city; and Large Spider, giant spiders living in the city's sewers, reaching 45 meters in length and using paralyzing venom to subdue prey. Custom Robo for the N64 is an action RPG centered around robot battles and customization. Players control miniature robots through eye contact registers as commanders. The game features a scenario mode and casts the player as a young boy new to the world of Custom Robo. Gameplay is a shooting action experience, utilizing A, B, R, and Z buttons for actions like gun, bomb, jump, and pod. Customization is a key element. Players can collect parts like guns, bombs, pods, and legs to enhance their robots. The game encourages learning through body memory and offers advice from in-game friend Shinichi. Developed by Noise and published by Nintendo, Custom Robo was released on December 3rd as a robot action RPG, supporting 12 players and utilizing 128 MB of memory with battery backup. This page introduces the Nintendo 64 game Custom Robo, focusing on the battle aspects and character interactions. The game emphasizes deepening bonds with friends through battles as the story unfolds, where the protagonist encounters various characters and engages in robot battles. Rivals each possess unique robots, making battles exciting. The page highlights the importance of customization to win battles and encourages players to try different parts. It mentions the Speed Pod as a beginner-friendly weapon that charges straight at opponents. There are also details on using bombs effectively in battles. The narrative progresses towards the city tournament, the first major event in the game. Players must improve their battle skills to participate and face rivals they've encountered throughout the story. Winning the city tournament is set as the player's main objective. 4 characters are introduced: Shinichi, Karin, Hayao, and Yuri, who seem to be important figures in the game. Before the tournament begins, a side story element is presented, where the protagonist is asked by their father to deliver a homemade bento to their mother at the hospital, adding a touch of personal narrative before the main competition. This page provides a preview of Super Robot Wars 64, a simulation RPG for the N64, released on October 29th and published by Banpresto. The page acts as a beginner's guide to the game's mechanics, starting with tips on how to fight, recommending players utilize spirit commands and persuasion tactics effectively. It also highlights the importance of strategically positioning repair units in the rear. The page introduces 2 key organizations featured in the game: the antagonistic Muge Zoldos Empire and the Karaba, a resistance organization formed to oppose them and reclaim Earth. Hobo. Karaba is supported by vast financial resources. The Earth Liberation Front organization and the remnants of the old Federation Army also appear to be allied with Karaba. Finally, the page previews enemy unit formations for 2 scenarios: initial fighting power and reinforcements, detailing enemy unit compositions including units like Mykeros, Gratonios, Zyphar, and Mogoj fighters. Another section, Launch Zemelg, shows enemy formations again, this time for a specific scenario featuring units like Dante, Ovelius, and Gratonios, among others. The next page presents scenario information for a strategy game, very likely Super Robot Wars 64, given the unit names which clearly reference the Gundam series. Each section details a different battle scenario with its title, initial enemy forces, and reinforcement units that appear under specific conditions. The scenarios are Anger's Armor, Demon God Stands Up, Mycenae and 100 Demons, Fierce Raging Elf, The Day the Meteor Fell, Man's Pride, Time of Farewell, Audacious and Fearless, Rue Kane's Challenge, Transience, In the Smoke, Swarming Murder Machines, Time Past, The Meteor Seen by a Girl, Black Gundam, and Magnificent Rue Kane. Each scenario lists specific enemy units, often identified by pilot names or unit types, such as Marasai, Lila, Gundam MK2, Gelid, Zaku 2, Specials, and characters like Rue Kane. Reinforcement conditions are also noted, like appearing after a certain turn, or when enemy units are reduced to a specific number, or when a specific unit is defeated. Screenshots accompany each scenario, showing the tactical map and unit deployment typical of strategy RPG gameplay. The scenarios seem to progress in difficulty and complexity, introducing more varied units and challenging conditions as the page goes on. This page is a strategy guide for Chapter 1 of a strategy RPG, which appears to be Super Robot Wars 64. The page details the branching scenario system of the game, showcasing a flowchart for Chapter 1 that splits into Super Route and Real Route, with stage names like Breaking the Arrogant Fortress and Struggle of the Blade listed for each path. The Blade of Suffering section explains the first map's victory condition is to move at least 3 units into a designated area within 3 turns and attack the Outmura airfield. The initial enemies include units like Alexandria, Airlees, and Marasai, with reinforcements including player and Daljan types appearing later. Gundam W characters and Magnac Corps will join as allies in this scenario. The Gundam Leading to Ruin section describes another map where enemies and allies are separated by sea. Enemy reinforcements arrive on turn 3, and the objective involves defeating enemies and landing on a lower plateau. This scenario features the Devil Gundam as a key enemy, while Shining Gundam and Getter Robo will appear as allies to help. The initial enemy force consists of Marasai, Airlees, Cancer, and Pisces units. This page showcases scenarios for a strategy game, likely related to Super Robot Wars 64. The first scenario, titled Sorrowful Warriors, features Amuro Ray as a playable character. The text describes Amuro appearing in the intermission of this map and mentions the Iron Armor Ghost appearing as reinforcements. Enemy forces listed include units like Mykeros, Grath-Drive, Oberius, and Terminator Polis, suggesting a challenging battle. The next scenario is Break the Despicable Trap, set in Hong Kong City. Here, Fu Murasame is featured as a pilot. The text clarifies that Amuro does not appear in this scenario. Worse is, winning conditions for this map are discussed, and enemy forces include units such as Zoram Zaleh, Grenflan, Gretonios, and Zyphar. The final scenario presented is Sorrowful Hong Kong City, which continues in the same location. This scenario involves recruiting Fu Murasame and Daman Kashu, with instructions on how to persuade them to join. It also warns that Allenby Beardsley can enter a berserker mode. Enemy units for this scenario include Solomco, Terminator Polis, Psycho Gundam, piloted by Fu, Nobel Gundam, piloted by Allenby, Gaplant, Ashamar, and Iriath. The page highlights that recruiting Fu in this Real Edition map will unlock a berserker mode. This page features game strategy guides for what appear to be strategy RPGs on the N64. The first section, titled From Between the Sea and the Land, gives advice for a scenario featuring characters like Sho and Galaria, likely from a Super Robot Wars game. It details enemy forces and hints at a strategy where players need to clear the map quickly within 4 turns to avoid a tougher scenario later. The second section, its name is Daisaku Kusama, focuses on Giant Robo, probably referring to the N64 game Giant Robo, The Day the Earth Burned. It suggests defeating the Ishinryu to assess Robo's strength, and mentions that powerful enemies will appear. It also advises including Getter Robo characters in the member selection for story-related dialogue. Enemy forces for this scenario are listed. Lastly, City of Betrayal section seems to be another scenario from a strategy game, where the player's units are divided. It warns about enemy spies, and suggests concentrating forces to break through, especially around turn 5 when reinforcements arrive. It also mentions that choosing the top option after clearing the scenario will make Erica join as an ally. Enemy forces for this scenario are also listed. This page focuses on the Game Boy Color game Super Robot Wars Link Battler and its connection to the Nintendo 64. It mentions that by linking the Game Boy Color to the N64, units from the GBC game can appear in the N64 version, specifically mentioning the upcoming Super Robot Wars 64 game. The page details a battle scenario on the top left, called Straying Destiny, where the player faces a tough map in the real robot scenario of the game, taking place in North Jing. It seems to be a challenging mission, where the player needs to defeat enemies quickly, within 8 turns, or face automatic defeat. There's a section showcasing the robot Gashogun, with its stats and abilities, emphasizing that it's a unit only appearing in the Game Boy version normally, but can be used in the N64 game via linking. Finally, the bottom right lists Game Boy exclusive characters like Gundam F91, Vignagina, Goshogun, and Zambot 3 as robots, and Seabook Arno, Cecily Fairchild, Hokujo Majin, and Kamishinhei as pilots, all of whom can be brought into the N64 game through the link functionality. This page is a preview of the Japanese Nintendo 64 adventure game, Yokochu 2 Murder Voyage. It details the game's branching narrative structure, showcasing scenario flowcharts that guide players through the mystery. The game casts players as detectives on the cursed ship Pandora to solve a series of murders. The page explains how to read the flowcharts, highlighting decision points that influence the story and lead to different endings. Screenshots depict scenes from the game, including dialogue choices and investigation sequences related to the deaths of the ship's captain and deputy captain, emphasizing the player's role in uncovering the truth and identifying the killer through their choices. The next page is a walkthrough guide for an N64 mystery adventure game where you must find the real culprit. It outlines the paths to over 10 different endings and mentions there are actually over 30 endings possible in the full game. The guide uses flowcharts to show branching story paths depending on player choices, starting from an engine room fire incident and leading to escape via lifeboat. Choices involve actions like deciding on the culprit, dealing with fire, and escaping. The page suggests a complex narrative structure with many possible outcomes, and even mentions sub-scenarios like a dynasty chapter to further explore the story. The guide seems to be helping players navigate the game and reach different conclusions by making various choices. This page is dedicated to the N64 game Slick Sliders, a radio-controlled car racing game. The page highlights the game's core appeal of controlling RC cars in races, emphasizing the responsive controls. It mentions that the game has 4 modes, but focuses on introducing 3 modes: Grand Prix, Multiplayer, and Original Course. The Grand Prix mode is described as a single-player mode, where you race against CPU opponents, with difficulty levels that increase as you progress. Multiplayer mode supports up to 4 players in split screen, and features a fun tag mode where one player is it and tries to avoid being caught. The Original Course mode allows players to edit and create their own custom racetracks by selecting various course elements, encouraging players to experiment and share their creations with friends. The page also mentions that the cars in the game have different performance characteristics, categorized as grip, motor, and turbo types, and encourages players to try them out to find their preferred style. Game information includes the genre as race, player count as 14, and a price of 5,800 yen. It also mentions that the game supports a backup cartridge and vibration pack. This page is focused on SimCity 64. It introduces the game's Beginner's Mode, which acts as a tutorial, allowing even newcomers to easily build cities. The page highlights gameplay elements such as listening to citizen opinions and building various facilities. It shows a character called Carol who advises on tax rates, explaining that high taxes can make citizens unhappy and leave. The page also details the ability to enter the city in a 3D perspective, to observe your creation from street level and interact with residents. Furthermore, it mentions random disasters like earthquakes, requiring players to dispatch firefighters and police. The game, SimCity 64, remained exclusive to Japan and was never released internationally. This page is focused on Mario Artist Talent Studio for the 64DD, a game where you can create your own unique talents. The magazine staff are excited about it and have been playing it in advance. This month's feature highlights the talent creation mode, demonstrating how you can capture and customize faces, even using photos of the magazine's editor-in-chief as an example. The game allows you to use the 64 Pocket Camera or video to import faces of yourself, family, or friends, and then extensively edit them. You can adjust facial features, add makeup, and change hairstyles. Beyond the face, you can also customize the head with various accessories like glasses and earrings. Body customization is also a key feature, letting you alter body shape and proportions, and dress your talent with a wide array of clothing options, from underwear to shoes and accessories, even incorporating designs created in the Paint Studio game. Finally, you can create a profile for your talent, defining their name, birthplace, and other personal details. For those who want a quick and easy way to create talents, the Easy mode, indicated by a * mark on the screen, allows the computer to randomly generate and coordinate talent features, leading to surprisingly fun results with each press of the button. This page is about Tsukute Talent, It's Showtime, and Paint Studio. Tsukute Talent is described as a game where you create talents and put on shows, with 4 types of shows and 7 kinds of actions in each, totaling 28 shows from the beginning. It highlights the expressions, movements, and sound effects, creating a good feeling. Categories of shows are shown as dance, sports, life, and other. The page also features Paint Studio, describing it as having abundant materials and various effects. It mentions that you can easily and enjoyably draw pictures and create CG graphics. Mario Artist. Paint Studio is specifically mentioned as a 64DD exclusive software for 14 players, scheduled for release in December, and compatible with a dedicated mouse. The text emphasizes that even beginners can create impressive CG art, with the various drawing materials and sample data available. It mentions that you can use various drawing materials to draw pictures from scratch or process sample data. The F0X expansion kit for the 64DD features a course editor, allowing players to create custom tracks in 3 steps. Step 1 involves setting points to define the track outline. The game then generates the course. Adjusting point positions and heights enables unique designs. Step 2 focuses on adding details like banks and road widths to create dynamic courses. Even simple curves can become challenging with these adjustments, enabling the creation of 3-dimensional banked corners. Step 3 allows players to place dash plates and other course elements, including the option to design courses without guardrails or with slippery zones. This step encourages high speed and artistic designs. The next month's content will feature machine customization and original cup modes. Gameplay screenshots highlight racing on custom-built tracks. The expansion kit, published by Nintendo, is scheduled for release in April 2000, supporting up to 14 players, and is exclusive to the 64DD. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Puyo Puyon Party. This party-style puzzle game is highlighted as the latest in the Puyo Puyo series and is for the N64. It boasts new modes and features for multiplayer enjoyment, supporting up to 16 players. The page showcases various game modes, such as the Bomb Puyo Puyo mode, which is described as thrilling, and the Endless Puyo Puyo mode. Screenshots display gameplay with colorful Puyo blocks and characters, emphasizing the fun and easy-to-learn nature of the game, suitable for both beginners and experienced players. The ad also mentions the inclusion of GB Gallery, which can be linked and enjoyed. Character selection and Ojama Puyo features are also briefly touched upon. This page is focused on the N64 game Chanbara Fighter. It's described as a fantasy-style sword-fighting action game from bottom up, emphasizing easy controls for dynamic attacks. The game is presented as enjoyable, even for those who aren't usually good at fighting games. The page shows character selection and mode selection screens. The character select features a knight named Flera, who is on a quest to rescue a princess from a dark castle. The mode select screen shows options for story mode and versus mode. The story introduction details the setting in Brightonland, a peaceful country loved by its people. A sudden crisis arises when the princess is kidnapped by a dark lord, leading 6 brave warriors to stand up to save her. The battle that can be done section explains that characters are like puppets controlled by players, with the goal being to deplete the opponent's health. It mentions tag team matches and using learned skills and created techniques for battles. Screenshots show 2 versus 2 tag matches and a victory scene. Game details mention it's a 128M capacity game, categorized as action and fighting, for 1 to 2 players, and supports vibration packs and controller packs. The release date is December 17th, and the price is 6,980 yen. This page is a preview for the N64 game Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, Udu Keishu. This wrestling game features real wrestlers from All Japan Pro Wrestling, promising a realistic wrestling experience. The game highlights the Hearts Delight match mode, showcasing realistic and simple controls with dynamic action. It also boasts an impressive roster of real-name wrestlers, realistic moves with over 1,000 move variations, and a large 40-person Battle Royale mode. The edit mode is significantly enhanced, allowing players to customize names, costumes, parameters, and even championship belts. The game is slated for release in January 2000, published by Asmik Ace Entertainment, and remained exclusive to Japan. This page is dedicated to Bomberman 2, known as Super Bomberman 2 internationally. The game is a 3D action title for 1 to 4 players, compatible with the Vibration Pack, and was released on December 3rd for 6,800 yen. The page highlights new features like the Pommy character, a companion who grows by eating items and can transform. It mentions that in single-player mode, one player can control Bomberman while the computer controls Pommy, or 2 players can team up with one controlling each character. Screenshots show gameplay in dungeon-like environments, battles with enemies, and shopping at a store using collected coins to buy items. There are also mentions of various battle modes, and a Stage 1 boss called Baruful, the Crimson Flame. The game emphasizes both single-player story mode and multiplayer battles, promising plenty of content for both. This page introduces Beetle Adventure Racing, a new racing game from Electronic Arts Square for the N64. The game features the Volkswagen New Beetle and allows players to race on various courses, including some with surprising elements like volcanoes and dinosaurs. The game offers modes like single-player, championship, and Beetle Battle for up to 4 players. Players can choose from different Beetle models and upgrade them as they progress. The game focuses on action-oriented racing, beyond just standard simulation, with elements like item collection and obstacle avoidance. It was scheduled for release in Japan on November 26th. This page introduces the N64 game Choro Q64-2, Hachimecha Grand Prix Race, the latest in the familiar Choro Q series, continuing the fun racing of Choro Q64. The page highlights how the sequel is even more chaotic than the original. The game is described as having extreme and enjoyable Choro Q races, emphasizing the cute car movements, though it's not just about being cute. It boasts over 30 types of car bodies and features gameplay mechanics like drifting and rolling special corners. Screenshots showcase in-game racing action with speedometers and position indicators. Another section explains that by winning races and placing within the top 3, players can acquire car parts from racers who finished 4th or lower. These parts can then be used to customize and power up your own vehicle. Screenshots show the part selection and acquisition screens. Finally, the page discusses the variety of courses available, ranging from on-road to off-road tracks, organized under titles like the Treasure Box Cup. By winning Grand Prix races, players progress further. The game also allows for condition changes to races and even includes a course edit mode to create your own tracks. It is noted that you can create original courses. The game is listed as a battle action race for 14 players, released in Japan in November 1999, priced at 6,800 yen, and compatible with the 64GB pack, controller pack, and rumble pack. This title was not released outside of Japan. The next page previews 2 racing games. The first game is Top Gear Rally 2, which is the sequel to the popular N64 racer. This game boasts course generation, where the game creates new courses every time you play, with 4 types of stages and 4 types of weather. It also features dynamically generated in-game music and real-world licensed rally cars from manufacturers like Mitsubishi, Subaru, and Toyota. The game is compatible with the expansion pack and controller pack. It is slated for release in February and priced at 6,980 yen. The second game is Top Gear Hyperbike. This is described as bringing the Top Gear series to the world of two-wheeled racing. In this game, players can race both on-road and off-road courses with a variety of motorcycles licensed from Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki. The game emphasizes customization, allowing players to choose from 10 helmets and 5 rider suits to personalize their in-game avatar. It's also compatible with the Rumble Pack, Expansion Pack, and Controller Pack, and is scheduled for a December release, priced at 6,980 yen. Both games support 1 to 4 players. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Wizardry Empire. It highlights the game's story, mentioning that in a distant past, the King Trebor and Lilgamin appear. The story revolves around the Emperor who attempts to unify the continent and is gathering monsters and magic. Adventurers challenge the dungeons in the Imperial territory. The ad also shows in-game screenshots with character stats, inventory, and gameplay menus. The game is scheduled for release in late October and will cost 3,980 yen. This page is showcasing special stickers for Game Boy games that can be written on, designed to be placed on Game Boy cartridges. The page features artwork from a variety of Game Boy titles including Metroid 2, Mario's Picross, Super Mario Land, Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2, Golf, For the Frog the Bell Tolls, a Japanly title, Super Striker, Super Mario Land 2-6 Golden Coins, Donkey Kong Land, Mugaranya, a Japanly title, Dr. Mario, Kirby's Pinball Land, Yoshi's Cookie, F1 Race, Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, Game Boy Wars, Donkey Kong, Game Boy Gallery, and The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX. It also mentions Zelda Side Story, Purikura stickers. This magazine page answers reader questions about Nintendo 64 games and the upcoming Dolphin console, later known as the GameCube. Discussions include brutal scenes in N64 games, with Ganondorf's death in Ocarina of Time, Yoshi's fate in Yoshi's Story, and Kirby's actions in Kirby 64 mentioned. The editor clarifies the Dolphin name is unofficial and addresses concerns about N64 game support after its release, assuring continued N64 game production alongside potential compatibility with Super Famicom titles. The editor recommends Chikorita as a starter in Pokemon Gold and Silver, mentions rare 64DD titles, and provides a guide for custom painting a Game Boy. The page also features reader-submitted artwork. This page is from the Chuguru's Analog Chat 64 section and discusses problem readers from the editor's perspective. It highlights that the magazine appreciates all reader feedback, both positive and negative, and mentions that the most common phone inquiries are about drill kick game techniques. There's also a reader's question corner explaining the magazine's early release dates compared to the cover month, which is a common practice in the magazine industry. The page also features This Month's Sake, introducing the Horse's Neck cocktail, and This Month's Portrait, which is a reader's illustration. Finally, Chuguru Sisters Love Consultation Corner answers a reader's question about games to play when heartbroken, suggesting games like Bangayo and SimCity for stress relief and emotional processing. The GameSoft Fan Club 2 magazine announces the launch of FC next month and features content related to Fire Emblem, Thracia, 776. A player from Tokyo shares their struggles with the game, detailing attempts to clear chapters and challenges with character survival. The magazine also addresses a reader's question about side routes, citing regulations against publishing all details but encouraging player reviews. A Thracia 776 Character Academy is introduced as a reader-voted popularity poll across 6 categories. The magazine also includes reader-submitted artwork with commentary, showcasing various character depictions and expressions of enthusiasm for Fire Emblem. The next page is all about upcoming and recently released Nintendo 64 games. The top section discusses the buzz around the Zelda Gaiden, which was played at Space World, and the excitement for the Game Boy Zelda titles. People were lining up for hours to play Zelda Gaiden at Space World, and there's anticipation that the title might change. The middle section, titled Troop Maru 1999, highlights 3 games they plan to play. These are Winback, Perfect Dark, and Modern Great Strategy Ultimate War. They mentioned the team loves gun and tank games. Winback is reviewed, calling it a great action game with stealth elements. Players can hide behind objects, and the tension is high. While enjoyable, the reviewer notes the deathmatches can be frustrating. Perfect Dark is previewed as the latest game from the GoldenEye team. It was playable at Space World and features dual pistols right from the start, with realistic death animations. They expected more futuristic weapons but are still awaiting further developments. It supports 4-player battles. Finally, Modern Great Strategy Ultimate War, a 64DD game, is previewed. It's described as a full-fledged strategy game with tanks and missiles, offering real-time battles with tense moments. The screenshot shows the scale and depth of the battlefield, exciting strategy game fans. This page discusses topics related to both mecha anime and upcoming fan participation sections for several games. It highlights combination robots in the Super Robot Wars series, using examples like Getter Robo, Combattler V, Gordian for its unique system, and Die-Rugger 15 for its high number of combining parts. Several postcard submission sections are announced, including Mother 3 Pig King's Last Stand, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, with submissions for any Kirby game, even Smash Bros., and Super Mario RPG 2, seeking fan art featuring Mario, Peach, and Bowser. And finally, a section focuses on 64DD titles like Talent Studio and Paint Studio, including games like Sim City and Sim Copter, inviting fan submissions to promote these titles. Instructions for submitting postcards to the GameSoft Fan Club too are provided. This page is titled Dream Runker and features a comic strip related to Donkey Kong 64. The comic depicts Mario dressed up as Donkey Kong, apparently playing a game. Luigi interrupts them, asking what they are doing. Mario explains he is playing as a hero, fighting against the Kremlin crew from Donkey Kong 64, acting as an ally of justice. Bowser appears, angered by Donkey Kong's heroic turn, declaring he will return the Donkey Kong clan to their villainous roots. Mario tries to intervene. Small text boxes clarify that Mario's perception of Donkey Kong is based on the older games, where Donkey Kong was the villain, contrasting with the current heroic portrayal in Donkey Kong 64. This page features a humorous comic strip with Mario, Donkey Kong, Bowser, and Luigi. The group arrives at a jungle, and Donkey Kong wonders if it's where that guy lives. They spot someone watching TV and decide to communicate. Initial attempts are awkward, but Bowser successfully uses the word banana to befriend the TV watcher. Luigi praises Mario, but Mario realizes Bowser simply wanted a banana. The final panel humorously suggests Donkey Kong and Bowser are of the same kind. The page also mentions Dream Dunker Dash and Peach Dreamer, potentially fan-created content or features within the magazine. Images resembling game cartridges are also shown at the bottom of the page. The next page features an article titled, Null Game Big Prediction! Dolphin and GB Advance will be like this. This article is speculating about Nintendo's future consoles, the Dolphin, which became the GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance. In the software section, it's predicted that the Game Boy Advance, referred to as GB Advance or G-Ban, will be released as PS2 sales settle down. The article anticipates sequels to Konami's Power Pro Kun Pocket and Beat Mania GB series, hoping for connectivity with N64 titles, particularly Smash Bros. Games like Mario and Metroid are expected to appear on the Game Boy Advance platform. The hardware section focuses on the Dolphin, with many details still unclear at the time. It speculates on a possible delay from the year 2000 and questions how Nintendo will utilize DVD as a new media format. The article also discusses controller design, hoping for a blend of Super Famicom and N64 controller functionalities with new features, possibly resembling a TV remote in functionality and form, even suggesting potential transformations or hardware combinations. The conclusion summarizes that future hardware, including the 64DD, will be network compatible, and the Game Boy will be portable. It mentions potential Pikachu and Mario-themed portable designs. Finally, at the bottom of the page, there's an announcement for the first Null Game Championship Decision, a contest where readers are invited to submit what they consider to be null or boring games. This page is the front cover of the magazine, and it's all about the Game Boy. The main feature is on rewriting Game Boy software, highlighted as a big feature special from Nintendo Power, focusing on rewriting Nintendo Game Boy software. The cover date is November 1st, 1999. Some of the games mentioned and showcased on the cover are Super Mario Land, Game Boy Wars, Kirby's Dream Land, and Metroid 2. It also mentions further down Super Mario Bros. DX, Kirby's Kira Kira Kids, and Game Boy Gallery 2 and 3. The cover art features artwork from the games with Bowser, Yoshi, a baby Yoshi-like dinosaur, and Kirby. This page is a guide on how to use the Nintendo Power Game Rewrite service. The comic strip featuring Mario and Luigi explains that to use the service, you need to go to Lawson Store and find the Loppy machine. You cannot use normal Game Boy cartridges, but need to purchase a special GB memory cartridge for 2,500 yen. The guide then shows the process of inserting the cartridge into the machine, saying, "Preparation OK." Luigi asks Mario if he is going to write Pokemon Gold and Silver, but Mario says that is impossible. The guide explains that GB memory cartridges have F blocks for game programs and B blocks for save data. It mentions that you can write games within the limit of these blocks, and that you can purchase how-to-play sheets at the counter for 29 yen. It encourages users to enjoy various games through the Nintendo Power service. The page also shows an image of a GB memory cartridge with numbered slots for storing different games, and notes that up to 7 games can be written on one cartridge. This page is a promotional comic strip advertising a service where you can buy and rewrite game cartridges, from classic titles to new releases. Mario and Luigi are featured demonstrating this service. Luigi draws Mario's attention to a magazine, possibly 64Dream, highlighting that game titles can be rewritten and your name can appear in many games. They joke about Nintendo being the face of this service, which is described as energy recovering. Luigi asks which game Mario wants, and mentions Super Mario Land 3 is included from the start on a cartridge, noting it's a first edition limited item. Luigi suggests Golf as another option. They then use a touch panel system, represented by AWS on screen, to make their selection. After using the touch panel, a receipt is printed. Luigi explains that you take the sheet and cartridge to the register, where store staff will rewrite the cartridge. Bowser is depicted as the store clerk, humorously asking for payment. A key benefit highlighted is that you can immediately play the newly rewritten game as soon as you leave the store, focusing on GB, which likely refers to Game Boy games. The comic ends by encouraging the reader to try the service. Finally, there's a tutorial on how to safely remove a center stapled appendix from the magazine, explaining how to carefully open the staples using a flathead screwdriver and resecure them, while warning against using fingernails or scissors due to safety concerns. This page is an advertisement for Nintendo Power's GB software rewrite service starting November 1st, showcasing a lineup of 21 Game Boy titles available for rewriting. The main focus is on Super Mario Land, an action game where Mario sets out to rescue Princess Daisy from the mysterious space monster Tatanga in Sarasaland. The game features shooting stages and bonus games, with simple controls utilizing the D-pad for movement and the A and B buttons for jumping, actions, and shooting. The page also includes screenshots of gameplay, bonus stages, and control instructions for the featured game, and lists 21 games available for the rewrite service along with their genre, block requirements, and rewrite prices, such as Super Mario Land 2-6 Golden Coins, Kirby's Dream Land, The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX, Donkey Kong, Game Boy Wars, Metroid 2, Kirby's Pinball Land, Game Boy Gallery, Dr. Mario, Yoshi's Punapon, Mario Picross, Mugaranya, Yakuman, F1 Race, Golf, and Solar Striker. This page focuses on two Game Boy titles, Super Mario Land 2-6 Golden Coins and Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land. Super Mario Land 2-6 Golden Coins highlights the story of Wario, who has taken over Mario's castle in Sarasaland. Wario has also stolen 6 golden coins, and Mario's mission is to retrieve these coins to reclaim his castle. The page shows gameplay screenshots and control instructions, detailing basic Mario movements like running, jumping, and ducking using the D-pad and A and B buttons. It also mentions features such as breakable blocks underfoot and bonus games at the goal. Super Mario Land 3. Wario Land introduces Wario's ambition to build his own castle. The story describes Wario's quest for treasure in the ocean to achieve this goal. Gameplay screenshots and power-up descriptions are provided. The power-ups detailed are the Bull Pot, which increases attack strength, the Jet Pot for temporary flight and increased jump power, and the Dragon Pot, which allows Wario to breathe fire. Control instructions are also provided, similar to Super Mario Land 2, with button functions for movement, jumping, and attacks. The Hamidashi GB Dream section at the bottom right is a side note related to Game Boy content within the magazine. This feature covers two Game Boy Kirby games, Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Dream Land 2. Kirby's Dream Land, the first game, features simple, engaging gameplay where Kirby inhales enemies to spit them out, aiming to defeat King Danae, who stole the land's food and treasure. Players navigate 5 stages using the D-pad for movement, B for inhale/exhale, and A for jumping. Kirby's Dream Land 2 expands on the formula, tasking Kirby with defeating dark matter and restoring Dreamland's light. This sequel introduces copy abilities, allowing Kirby to gain powers like Ice, Cutter, and Parasol, and features partner characters that aid Kirby. Controls are similar, with the B button now also used for copy abilities, and also introduces air and water gun abilities. The next page features 2 Game Boy games. The first game is Kairu no Tame ni Kain wa Naru, which translates to The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls. It's described as a tear and laughter adventure game where the player, a prince, must rescue Princess Tiramisu from the evil Dealerin army. The game features simple controls, using the D-pad, A button for commands and jumping, and B button for battle and storing a saw. The screenshots show gameplay in towns and dungeons, menu screens, and combat situations. It emphasizes easy controls and lighthearted gameplay. The second game is Zelda no Densetsu. Yume o Miru Shima DX, which is The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX for Game Boy Color. It explains the story, where Link is washed ashore on Koholint Island and must awaken the windfish to escape. This version is in color and features enhanced graphics and gameplay compared to the original black and white version. New features like dungeons and a camera shop in town that lets players take and print photos are highlighted. The controls are explained using the D-pad for movement, B and A buttons for assigned items, and Start button to view the subscreen. Screenshots showcase the color graphics, gameplay, and map screen. This page showcases two classic Game Boy titles, Donkey Kong and Super Donkey Kong GB, which is Donkey Kong Land. The Donkey Kong section describes it as a popular arcade and Famicom game that has returned to Game Boy. It highlights the familiar stages from the arcade version and mentions gameplay elements like rescuing Pauline by reaching the top with a key. It also gives hints on how to avoid Kong, who is chasing you, and how to use items like hammers. Key techniques mentioned are the high jump and cartwheel, rope button, for reaching higher places and using A and B buttons. The control scheme for Donkey Kong is detailed for the D-pad and A and B buttons, explaining actions like moving, picking up, /throwing, jumping, high jumping, and switch operations. The Super Donkey Kong GB section, referring to Donkey Kong Land, introduces it as a new adventure on Game Boy, based on the Super Famicom version. It describes the premise of King K. Rool kidnapping Donkey Kong's bananas, prompting a new adventure. The page mentions bananas as convenient items appearing in stages, with 100 bananas awarding an extra life. It also suggests increasing lives by collecting bananas. The control scheme for Super Donkey Kong GB is detailed for the D-pad, select A and B buttons, explaining actions like movement, character switching, jumping, swimming, rolling attack, and picking up / throwing barrels. The page also mentions using DK-marked barrels to rescue animal buddies, which can help when life is low. This page covers two Game Boy titles. First up is Game Boy Wars, a strategy simulation game where players choose between Red Star or Blue Moon armies and aim to seize enemy territory. The goal is to become a master commander by strategically deploying units and capturing enemy cities. The page highlights tactics such as sending supply vehicles to support infantry and utilizing armored transport vehicles for effective combat. It also mentions the game's two-player mode for versus battles. The second game featured is Metroid 2: Return of Samus, an action title focused on exterminating Metroids on planet State Route 388. The game sees Samus Aran undertaking a mission from the Galactic Federation to eradicate the Metroid threat. The page describes the dangerous environment of State Route 388, filled with various creatures and ancient technology. It emphasizes the need for caution against Metroids in the underground areas, noting beam attacks are ineffective and missile attacks are crucial. The control scheme for both games is shown, detailing the use of the D-pad, select button, B button, A button, and Start button for actions like movement, command selection, firing weapons, jumping, and pausing. This page is about Game Boy software. The first section covers Kirby's Pinball, where Kirby is the pinball. It explains the game structure with stages, bosses, and bonus stages. The aim is to defeat King Dedede. It highlights bonus games and achieving high scores. Control methods for flippers and nudging are also detailed. The second section is on Game Boy Gallery, celebrating classic Game & Watch titles. It features 4 games: Fire, Octopus, Manhole, and Oil Panic, available in original old-style mode and updated modern-style mode. The Gallery corner unlocks content like release dates and game information by achieving high scores in each game. It encourages players to complete the Game & Watch data collection. This page reviews 4 puzzle games for the Game Boy. Dr. Mario challenges players to eliminate viruses by matching colored capsules. Yoshi no Panepon, Tetris Attack, involves clearing rising panels by aligning matching types. Mario no Picross presents 256 puzzles, where players use numerical hints to reveal hidden pictures by chiseling squares. Finally, Moguranya, Mole Mania, is an action puzzle game where players dig underground, avoiding enemies, and navigating obstacles to reach the exit. All games utilize the D-pad for movement and unique button combinations for actions specific to each title. This page showcases 4 Game Boy games available through Nintendo Power Cartridge rewriting service. The first game is Yakuman, a mahjong game for 2 players, highlighting its casual play and communication features. It mentions various computer player types with distinct personalities. Next is F1 Race, a Formula One racing game that supports up to 4 players, emphasizing jet acceleration for exciting races across 9 circuits and various game modes, including a time attack mode. The third game is Golf, a classic Nintendo golf game comparable to Mario Golf, offering 36 holes across Japan and USA courses and supporting 2 players. Finally, there's Solar Striker, an early Nintendo shooting game with simple vertical scrolling gameplay. It features 3 levels of power-ups for the player's ship and auto-fire capabilities, emphasizing straightforward shooting action against enemy strongholds. This page is introducing 9 Game Boy software titles that are available for rewrite starting December 1st. It's highlighting the game Super Mario Bros. DX as the first new title for this service. Other titles available include Donkey Kong Land, Picross 2, Game Boy Gallery 2, Game Boy Gallery 3, Tennis, Yoshi's Cookie, Kirby's Kira Kira Kids, and Kirby's Block Ball. The page then goes into detail about Super Mario Bros. DX, emphasizing it as a deluxe version playable on Game Boy, packed with extra modes and features. It mentions Original Mode, which recreates the Famicom version, Challenge Game Mode, with medal collecting challenges like red coins, eggs, and high score, and VS Game Mode, allowing 2 players to compete via communication cable. Other deluxe features mentioned are an album to record memories and a toy box with calendar and fortune-telling functionalities. Screenshots showcase gameplay from Super Mario Bros. DX, and there's a section explaining the Game Boy Color controls. The page promotes these 9 titles as part of a service to rewrite Game Boy games, offering both new and older titles. From December 1st, Nintendo Power Cartridge rewrites offered 8 exclusive Game Boy titles. These included action games like Donkey Kong Land, where Diddy and Dixie rescue Donkey Kong, Game Boy Gallery 2 and 3, featuring classic Game & Watch titles like Parachute, Vermin, and Donkey Kong Jr., and Kirby's Block Ball, a breakout game starring Kirby. Puzzle games like Picross 2, with expanded puzzle grids in 2-player mode, Yoshi's Cookie, where players match cookies, and the Japan-exclusive Kirby's Kira Kira Kids were also available. Finally, the sports title Tennis provided orthodox singles matches and local multiplayer. This page showcases 16 Game Boy games, suggesting a rewritable cartridge system. The games span various genres: sports, baseball, Mario Golf GB, action, Alleyway, Quicks, Wario Land 2, Pokemon Pinball, strategy, Radar Mission, X, puzzle, Yoshi's Egg, Tetris Flash, Tetris Deluxe, Tetris, and RPGs, Pokemon Green/Red, Pokemon Pikachu. Many titles are classics, including versions of Tetris and Pokemon. The page also mentions anticipated releases and discusses the challenges of implementing a rewrite system. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening DX is highlighted as already available. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. It announces the game's release date as December 1st and the rewrite price as 1,000 yen. The advertisement highlights that the game is deluxe and features Luigi for cooperative play using a communication cable, Yoshi's eggs to find in the challenge mode, and the ability to create stickers and print them using a pocket printer after clearing game challenges and collecting awards and photos in the toy box. It also mentions that Game Boy memory cartridges can be used to rewrite games, priced at 2,500 yen. The advertisement features screenshots of gameplay and artwork of Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Bowser, and other familiar Mario characters. The next page is from the This Month's Death Hermit column, which is the 30th lecture focusing on reader questions. The page begins with a brief discussion about the weather being cold and suggesting weather as a topic of conversation. Then, it addresses 3 reader questions. This question. The first question asks why CPUs are multiples of 8, which the article explains by discussing bits and binary numbers, clarifying the concept of 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and 64-bit CPUs. The second question is about whether the N64 has an OS. The response explains what an operating system is, using Windows, Linux, and Mac OS as examples, and states that the N64 doesn't have a traditional OS, and development was done directly. The final question asks about the Famicom disk system. The answer describes the disk writer service, where games could be rewritten for a small fee, mentioning that these disks were fragile and prone to errors. It mentions creating your own golf and racing game save data and entering national competitions. The article also mentions Donkey Kong 64, as a game with large capacity in comparison to the Famicom Disk System. The page includes an image of a Dr. Mario character pointing, a Dr. Pepper bottle, and a generic RPG-style game screenshot. This page is a report on the game event scene, specifically looking at Japan and the US. The article discusses the Space World show, highlighting that Nintendo staff provided game explanations and hands-on play, something considered rare in other shows. The piece notes that magazine reporters and industry people from America came to Japan for coverage. Games mentioned as highlights at the show include Zelda Gaiden, Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong 64, Custom Robo, and Virtual On. The report points out that Custom Robo and Virtual On were particularly well received, especially by American attendees, suggesting they are games that Americans would enjoy and want to buy. The article then shifts to the topic of Pokemon, noting its huge popularity in America, with game, card game, and TV anime booming. It mentions Pokemon Yellow being released in Japan in October, and a movie, Mewtwo's Counterattack, coming in November. Pokemon Stadium is also mentioned as slated for release next spring, showing no signs of slowing down. The upcoming releases of Pokemon Gold and Silver are also anticipated to be big in America, suggesting the American market is on a good time interval for game releases. The report concludes by discussing the chaotic nature of Japanese game shows compared to Western ones, and the general positive outcome of the Space World event. It hints at future announcements like the PS2 and the next Tokyo Game Show, showing anticipation for what's to come in the gaming industry. This page features Dream Impression reviews of 3 N64 games from readers. The first review is for Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, where the reviewer, Shooting Woman from Yamaguchi Prefecture, praises the gameplay and sound quality, noting that even without the Hires Pack, the graphics are enjoyable. They mention the English speech in the game, and that while subtitles are present, they are a little small. The second review is for Bangayo, titled Explosive 300 Hit, by Mr. Koyanagi Rumizo from Toyama Prefecture. They highlight the game's fast-paced shooting action, stress relief, and strategic elements, recommending it to treasure and shooting game fans. They note that the screen is filled with shots, and that mastering techniques and aiming for high scores is key. Finally, there is a review for Pokemon Snap titled The Emotion of Buying It for 3,475 yen, from Mr. Hikage in Okayama Prefecture. The reviewer describes their experience of playing the game for 10 days and taking pictures of Pokemon. They detail going to Lawson Convenience Store to print stickers from the game and express their emotional satisfaction with the printed stickers, but also note the high cost incurred, including travel and printing fees, wishing Nintendo would make sticker printing more convenient. A screenshot of Pokemon Snap gameplay is also shown. This N64Dream magazine forum features reader letters and editor responses. One letter, Game is a Toy, from Motomiya Shigeru, criticizes Nintendo's potential misunderstanding of gamers by releasing the 64DD and treating games like toys. They express disappointment over anticipated games like Super Mario RPG 2 and Zelda no Densetsu DD being unreleased. Another, Dreaming of Becoming a Game Creator by Mori Kyoko, describes their child's inspiring experience at Nintendo Space World, fueling their desire to become a game developer. The Creator's Point of View section highlights the increasing demands of the N64 era, including high-speed processing and large storage. It advocates for a DVD-based console to meet these needs and allow for creator freedom and diverse content, promoting creator supremacy and prioritizing user satisfaction. Pokemon Gold and Silver's popularity is also noted. This page highlights reader discussions regarding the Nintendo Dolphin, GameCube, console, and its potential impact. One section explores the shift to DVD media, with a reader questioning the reasoning. The response suggests DVD's larger storage capacity would allow for more expansive games and content, keeping the N64 relevant despite its cartridge limitations. Another section focuses on the Dolphin's strength and suggests it must be revolutionary, possibly utilizing DVD-RW for dynamic content and accessibility. A reader questionnaire reveals diverse comments, from reminiscing about Pokemon and Nintendo Power strategy guides to a request for content targeting older gamers. These reader perspectives offer insights into the anticipation surrounding the new console. This page from Rokuyan Odofri Shopping District offers tips on how to get the most out of the stickers included in every issue of 64Dream magazine. The suggestion is to use magnet sheets, easily found in stationery stores, to create reusable magnets from the stickers, perfect for decorating fridges or whiteboards. The "This month I'm buying this" section highlights games to look out for around November 20th. The recommended titles include the Wizardry Empire series, which were only released in Japan, alongside popular titles like Pokémon Gold and Silver and Super Mario 64 on Game Boy, and for the N64, Donkey Kong 64, and Mario Party 2. Lastly, Words from the Shopping District Chairman shares a brief anecdote about the chairman's collection of Game Boy consoles, mentioning his unique, clear blue iMac Bondi blue-colored Game Boy. The Akihabara Used Game Price Survey for October 8th focuses on N64 software and hardware, primarily from SoftMap. Concerns are raised regarding the used game market's future due to potential sales halts and the scarcity of rare titles. The survey provides a detailed price comparison of numerous N64 games, including Castlevania 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Super Smash Bros., alongside original release prices. Hardware prices, including the N64, Game Boy Color, and Dreamcast, are also tracked, with a noted price decrease in late September, followed by signs of an increase. The page also references the Rokuyan Backstreet Shopping District website and offers a Pokemon Stadium sticker prize giveaway. This page is a Nintendo 64 software title list, showcasing a wide selection of games available for the console at the time. The list details each game's memory capacity, SRAM, the maker, and the price. There are many familiar titles listed here, like Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong Country Series, F-Zero, and Kirby Superstar. It also includes role-playing games, action games, puzzle games, and sports titles. The list seems to be categorized alphabetically by genre or game category and price. This page is an advertisement for the 64DD and RANNet service, announcing that reservations will start from November 11th. The page highlights 64DD New Fact 3 and the website address for RANNet DD. The text emphasizes that the N64 is only complete when connected to the 64DD, appealing to users who have been eagerly awaiting its release since its debut at Space World 96 3 years prior. The website offers sections for latest information, application method, and game list, inviting users to click on the click button to explore further. The 64DD's RANNet online service is launching November 11th. The RANNet Starter Kit plus Game Software 6-pack is available for 2,500 yen monthly, including everything needed to connect. The kit features a modular cable, a stylish black modem, the RANNet disk, system software, and a memory expansion pack. The kit includes 6 64DD software titles: Doshin the Giant One, SimCity 64, F-Zero X Expansion Kit, Mario Artist, Polygon Studio, Mario Artist, Paint Studio, and Mario Artist, Talent Studio. The package also features peripherals, like a capture cassette for video capture, and a mouse compatible with Paint Studio and Talent Studio. An N64 main unit set is available for 3,300 yen monthly. RANNet DD payments begin February 2000, with an initial 1,500 yen delivery fee. The Spring 2000 software distribution will include Polygon Studio. This page details the RANNet 64DD service application process, emphasizing that the deadline is January 11, 2000, and a credit card is necessary to apply. The 64DD system itself is exclusively available through mail order and not in retail stores. The initial software releases will be Doshin the Giant and Paint Studio, with Talent Studio and SimCity 64 planned for release later in 2000. The 64DD package includes a modem and communication cable, and it allows for up to 5 email addresses per household. Pamphlets are available at stores such as Ito-Yokado and Lawson, and phone numbers are listed for obtaining more information. The comic strip visually explains the application and delivery process, showcasing the excitement of receiving the 64DD. An interview with RANNet DD representatives Masanori Tanaka and Hirotake Tsukamoto discusses the Nintendo 64DD service. The delay in reservations aimed for an accessible, affordable service, coordinated with Nintendo for user experience refinement. The service launches November 11th, with payments starting February 2001. The initial cost covers hardware and software. After the first year, a 1,500 yen monthly fee covers network and information services, separate from standard internet fees, around 3,000 yen. The 1,500 yen provides unlimited usage, but users can cancel if they no longer need the internet services, with promises of exciting new services planned to entice continued subscriptions. The total cost is compared to the price of CDs or movie tickets, indicating affordability. Initial 64DD orders are limited to 100,000, creating exclusivity, with member ID cards to be issued. This page discusses several aspects of the 64DD system and its services. It starts by addressing the question of why credit cards are the only payment method for the RandNet service, explaining that cash sent by mail is not accepted and that they are considering other payment options in the future. The page then answers why 6 software titles were selected for the 64DD launch. It highlights the Mario Artist series and its ability to fully utilize the 64DD's capabilities. It mentions that the 64DD allows for data rewriting, communication features, and software collaboration, which are showcased through these 6 titles. Finally, it explains how to purchase new 64DD software. Users need to insert the RandNet disk and access the dedicated homepage to select and buy software. Payment is taken via credit card, and the software is then delivered to the user's home. Expected software titles mentioned include Mario Artist, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, F-Zero X Expansion Kit, and Modern Great Strategy. It also confirms that Zelda DD is planned for release. The cartoon panels illustrate these points, with characters discussing creating characters in Mario Artist and imagining a world connected to SimCity using the 64DD. In Tokyo, LandNet DD offered unlimited internet access for a fixed monthly fee, independent of phone charges, initially in the O3 area. This service allowed users with a 64DD to create backups using a backup up disk, provisional, priced at 2,500 yen, designed to protect data. The disks were used with software like Mario Artist to create and upload content via LandNet DD, with Spring 2000 as a planned release. There was a vision to create characters for Doshin the Giant and distribute them online. The 64DD fostered a new connection between game creators and players. Instead of traditional feedback methods, players could communicate directly via email and planned LandNet BBS forums. Game-specific BBSs were proposed for direct interaction and homepage integration to foster a direct creator-player relationship and incorporate user ideas into games, including sharing strategy guides. The system aimed to offer players a way to get direct answers from game creators and engage them through the BBSs. The Nintendo 64's online capabilities are explored, focusing on net battles for games like Modern Great Strategy Ultimate War and Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, with potential for battles against professional player data in Wall Street 64. F-Zero X's online plans remain uncertain. RandNet is launching a picture postcard service, allowing users to create and send postcards, starting with samples in December and full user-created designs by Spring 2000. Further services include character attachment to emails and a sticker printing service. Beyond software, RandNet DD's homepage is now public. A digital magazine service, My Keiba Magazine, starts in December, covering horse racing news and virtual ownership/prediction contests. They plan similar digital magazines for baseball and Formula One, utilizing a pay-per-view model. The RandNet DD homepage is undergoing a redesign. LandNet DD, staffed by 15 employees from Recruit and Nintendo, is developing software for the 64DD and is also focused on encouraging third-party software development. They are still finalizing the December service content. LandNet aims to facilitate user communication through a BBS for game discussions and Jarmal for connecting with acquaintances. Wall Street, a stock trading game, is planned for adult users, while other software aims to support parent-child communication, including introducing stock trading concepts to children. The article also highlights 6 recommended internet homepages for N64 users connecting to the internet via the 64DD, including Nintendo's Japanese and US websites, and sites related to Rareware, the developer of GoldenEye 007, and others. This page announces a giveaway to celebrate the completion of the Giant Islands letter series, a feature within the magazine. There are 7 different prizes related to the game Doshin the Giant. First, 10 lucky winners can receive an original postcard hand-drawn by Kazunori Ida, the creator of Doshin. 5 winners will get original artwork panels from the Giant Islands letter series, created by artist Yamazaki Yasuhiro. 2 winners will receive a red Giant Doshin t-shirt, said to be the same kind Ida himself wears, in children's L size. 10 people can win the Space World edition of Giant Islands letter, a complete version originally distributed at Space World, featuring play instructions not found in the magazine serialization. For audio fans, 2 winners can get a Following Doshin's Footsteps soundtrack CD for Doshin the Giant, filled with relaxing, summery acoustic music. 3 winners will get the Giant Doshin 1 official fan book, Doshin-chan, You've Grown Big, a fan book promising to reveal all the secrets and behind-the-scenes stories of Doshin. Lastly, 3 winners can receive the Giant Doshin 1 official guidebook, a 200-page strategy guide with in-depth game information and developer interviews. To enter the giveaway, you need to collect 4 triangle marks from the magazine, stick them on a postcard, and send it to the address provided with your details and prize preference by November 20th. This page is from the N64 question box section, where readers ask questions to Nintendo. The question asks about the anticipated year-end software. The answer, provided by Yoshio Hongo from Nintendo's Public Relations Department, reveals there will be 4 N64 software releases. The N64 software lineup includes Jet Force Gemini, released on November 27th, Custom Robo, released on December 3rd, Donkey Kong 64, released on December 10th, and Mario Party 2, released on December 17th. Additionally, the 64DD software lineup is mentioned, featuring Doshin the Giant and Mario Artist Paint Studio, both scheduled for December release. The text also mentions that the person answering questions, Mr. Hongo, is featured in a t-shirt and photo on page 8 of this expanded edition. It also mentions a drawing of Mr. Hongo in a previous issue created by a reader, and that he found it very cute. The N64 question box confirms Space World will be held August 25th for 3 days, showcasing anticipated games like a potential Space World 2000 demo, and the event will likely offer Pokemon Gold/Silver content. Donkey Kong 64 is nearing completion for a year-end 2000 release, developed by Rare, with a focus on extensive gameplay. Nintendo has no major events planned until the Next Generation World Hobby Fair in January, featuring software demos including a playable Mario RPG 2 and games like Fishing Bass Tournament 64 and Zelda Gaiden. A commercial for Donkey Kong 64 is in production, emphasizing the required memory expansion pack. A separate commercial for the game will air from October 1st on TV Asahi. The Donkey Kong Country anime series also performs well. This Q&A covers upcoming Nintendo 64 game information. Donkey Kong 64 will initially bundle with the memory expansion pack, which is required to play. The subtitle for Zelda Gaiden, later revealed as Majora's Mask, is still under consideration, with a firm release date targeted for March and no delays planned. The team is prioritizing the deadline, with Miyamoto strongly emphasizing its importance, even mentioning a showcase at Space World. The Q&A reassures fans that the Zelda series' popularity is not just a boom, but a lasting phenomenon, promising future releases on N64, Game Boy, and the upcoming Dolphin, GameCube, console. This page answers a few questions about the upcoming Pokemon Gold and Silver games. One question asks if there will be any more delays to the release, to which the answer is a confident no, stating pre-orders are going extremely well, even better than expected, and they are on track for the November 21st release date and to hit their sales target. Another question asks if players should buy both Gold and Silver versions. The answer suggests one is enough for solo play, but getting both is ideal for trading with friends. It clarifies the differences are mainly in the Pokemon that appear in each version, similar to the red and green versions. They also touch on pre-order trends, noting slightly more pre-orders for Silver, possibly due to Lugia's prominence on the packaging. Another question asks to describe the appeal of Gold and Silver in a single word, but the answer is that it's impossible to summarize so briefly. They highlight the enhancements over previous games, including new Pokemon, the Pokegear, new types of Pokeballs, time-based events, and Pokemon breeding, promising a fresh and engaging experience. Finally, they discuss which version, Gold or Silver, is expected to sell more. While it's hard to say for sure, pre-order numbers suggest Silver might be slightly ahead, potentially influenced by Lugia featuring on the Silver box and in the anime, while Gold had a movie tie-in with Pikachu, suggesting a deliberate balance and appeal between the two versions. This page is a Q&A section focusing on Pokemon-related questions. One question asks about the commercials for Pokemon Gold and Silver, and the answer explains they were designed for elementary school children and showcased actual gameplay footage. The commercial aimed to appeal to the main target audience of elementary school kids, although older fans also enjoyed the game. Another question addresses the target audience age for Pokemon, questioning if it was aimed at 3,040-year-olds. The answer clarifies that this is not the case, and the games are made for children who enjoy bug catching and collecting, while acknowledging that older people who grew up with Pokemon also play. A question about trading Pokemon with overseas versions is answered with a strong warning against it. It explains that attempting to connect Japanese and overseas versions for trading will cause system issues and language differences, potentially corrupting game data. It strongly advises players to avoid this. Lastly, a question is raised about a lawsuit involving Pokemon cards and Nintendo of America, NOA. The answer confirms a class action lawsuit in the U.S. was filed against NOA and 4Kids Entertainment concerning Pokemon trading cards, with the claim being that collecting trading cards constituted illegal gambling. The legal dispute led to lawyers withdrawing from the case, leaving the situation in a strange state. This Q&A section from an N64 magazine discusses upcoming games and their marketing. Mini Racers became Slipstream Sluggers due to trademark issues, with the new name aiming for impact and being delayed due to release schedules. The developer stated they didn't know about a Smash Bros. Sequel, but admitted sequel discussions occur internally. Jet Force Gemini was originally Start Twins, highlighting the game's twin protagonists. Commercials for Jet Force Gemini are planned. Finally, commercials for Super Smash Bros. Are confirmed, timed to coincide with a slow release period, aiming to boost sales, showcase gameplay, and include humorous scenes. The magazine also suggests similar marketing for 1080 snowboarding and other high-quality games. This Q&A about the Nintendo 64 addresses several topics. The Space World Kirby 64 demo wasn't released immediately because it was a demonstration, not a finished game, similar to Mother 3's showing. The Memory Expansion Pack doubles the N64's memory, enabling enhanced graphics, more detailed environments, and more on-screen characters, as showcased in games like Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda. To promote the N64, the focus should be on its affordable price, diverse game library, and upcoming releases, including new console colors. Finally, Capcom's Game Boy Zelda game originated from discussions between Nintendo and Capcom, with Capcom initially planning a Famicom Disk System remake, before shifting focus. Capcom's flagship studio developed the game under Nintendo's quality control, aiming for a substantial remake. This page is from the N64 question box section and answers 3 reader questions related to Nintendo 64. The first question asks if the Game Boy Zelda game will link with the N64. The answer is that while they considered linking them with a communication cable, it has been postponed to keep development simpler and faster, but it might be considered in the future. The second question asks why Shigeru Miyamoto doesn't become independent. The answer explains that while he has been asked this, becoming independent to make software requires a large team, and game development is considered his hobby. He enjoys the development environment at Nintendo and creating games within it. The third question is about the impact of the Taiwan earthquake on Nintendo. Narrated. The answer states that the earthquake is affecting the production of N64 software, particularly memory cartridges. This means a nationwide simultaneous release for games on day 1 is impossible. They will start sales in the Kinki region at Lawson stores on November 1st, and then expand to other areas as they monitor the situation. The release of Super Mario Bros. DX is also affected and will be delayed. The page also features a cover image of GB magazine, which highlights GB Software Write-In Super Special Feature, and shows artwork of Super Mario and Yoshi from Super Mario Bros. DX. Readers are encouraged to send in questions about anything related to Nintendo 64 to the N64 question box, via mail or fax. This page is bursting with news about Nintendo's upcoming plans, especially surrounding the console codenamed Dolphin, which is set to be showcased at next year's Space World event. The magazine highlights Yamauchi, the Nintendo president, discussing the recent interim financial results, noting a decrease in sales and profits, partially due to the delayed release of Pokemon Gold and Silver. Space World is scheduled for August 25th to 27th in Makuhari Messe Chiba, where Nintendo plans to demonstrate Dolphin software alongside existing N64 titles. There's speculation about the Dolphin's price point, hovering around 40,000 yen, with discussions comparing its focus on pure gaming enjoyment to the multimedia capabilities of the PlayStation 2. The article also touches on the Game Boy Advance, mentioning its announcement was somewhat overshadowed. Its release is anticipated around August of the following year, while the Dolphin is expected earlier in April. Pokemon Gold and Silver is aiming for a massive 8 million sales target, driven by strong pre-orders, hoping to achieve record numbers. In other news, Konami and FM Tokyo are partnering up to distribute game data via FM radio, targeting handheld consoles, and specifically mentioning new music data for the Beatmania Pocket. Finally, There's a column featuring photos of President Yamauchi at Space World, captured casually observing the event. This page features several news snippets and articles. At the top left, there's news about Nintendo's new headquarters building in Kyoto, expected to be completed in autumn of 2000. To the right, there's an article about the Pocket Pikachu Color Gold and Silver Together, which is being released on November 21st for 3,000 yen. This upgraded Pocket Pikachu has a color screen and enhanced features, including communication with other Pocket Pikachus and a pedometer function. It can also connect with the Game Boy Color. Moving down the page, there's an article about a special Dai Hawks orange version of the N64 console. This orange console is a limited edition item sold at Dai stores to commemorate the Dai Hawks baseball team's championship. On the bottom left, there's news about Nintendo's next-generation console, codenamed Dolphin, which will use graphics technology from S3 Graphics called S3TC. This technology helps with texture compression and memory efficiency for displaying detailed graphics. Finally, on the right side, there's an article about a joint promotion between Dr. Pepper and Donkey Kong 64. The promotion includes anime airing from October and large marketing campaigns, similar to a promotion in America starting in November. There's also a notice about prize distribution for Pokemon Teleka and Fire Emblem Teleka contests, asking readers to contact them if they haven't received their prizes due to address issues. The text covers several announcements. The PlayStation 2 made its debut at the Tokyo Game Show '99 autumn. The Animaster project proposes using anima codes on comics and trading cards to influence Dreamcast and Game Boy game scenarios, though a direct physical link is improbable. The complete CG-processed version of Pocket Monsters Mewtwo's Counterattack is coming, featuring unaired footage. A monitor recruitment is underway for the PC version of Shiren the Wanderer, adapted from the Game Boy version. Finally, Mario Party character plush toys are scheduled for a November release as Crane Game prizes, and a hyper guidebook for Win Back is also available. This page has several interesting pieces of news. Firstly, there's a call for entries to a Pokemon Snap user gallery. Players are encouraged to submit their best Pokemon Snap photos to be featured, and they could win Nintendo original goods as prizes. The page details how to print your photos as stickers at Lawson convenience stores and submit them by mail with required information, like your pen name and address. There's also a humorous comic strip featuring Link in a situation regarding changing clothes, titled Link's Great Adventure, temporary title. In other news, it's mentioned that Howard Lincoln, the chairman of Nintendo of America, has become the CEO of the famous Seattle Mariners baseball team. Moving on, there's an announcement for a new game-related website called Web Maga Giant Donna. This site promises to feature deep dives and special features on games, going beyond simple game introductions with fun and engaging content planned. The site is accepting Donna mail for feedback and encourages readers to send in their thoughts and questions. Lastly, there's an event announcement for the Nintendo Game Park in Tokyo Engineering College 1999, scheduled for November 3rd and 4th. This event, held in collaboration with Nintendo, will focus on F-Zero X and feature upcoming N64 software, playable SFC games, and talk shows. The theme of the event is Warm Old and Innovation and to the Future. This page is from the SFC and GB Information Bureau section, covering Super Famicom and Game Boy games. The page highlights GB Debista Ranch for the Game Boy Color, a horse racing and breeding simulation game, mentioning that breeding is now easier to understand and manage. It talks about the upcoming Game Boy version of Debista Ranch, focusing on horse production and training. The page gives an example of horse breeding with Native Dancer, and explains how the bloodline and attributes are now more visually represented for easier decision-making. Also previewed is The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons/Ages for Game Boy Color, referred to as Mysterious Tree Fruit. It mentions this Zelda title is being released in 3 parts: Power Chapter, Wisdom Chapter, and Courage Chapter, each focusing on action, puzzle, and adventure elements respectively. Lastly, SFC Picture Logic 2, or Mario's Picross 2, for the Super Famicom, is previewed. It highlights that this sequel includes puzzles created by readers of Daku Jiku magazine, and offers a wide range of difficulty levels from simple to very challenging, even introducing a super advanced and special mode. Screenshots show gameplay from both Zelda and Picross 2. This page features previews for 3 Game Boy Color games, and also mentions content related to N64's 64Dream magazine. Firstly, Grand Duel. Hot-Blooded Adventure Dungeon Card Battle is an RPG where you explore dungeons with cute monsters, aiming to find the legendary card at the deepest level. It's about building a card deck and engaging in card battles. Key characters mentioned are Peperoncino, a 12-year-old treasure hunter, and Patechi, a monster who can decipher card seals. You can also create your own original cards using various tools, and trade cards via a communication cable. Passwords can be entered to get summoning cards, and IYU Radomea is specifically mentioned as a password for a 64Dream exclusive card. Next is Ganbare Goemon, Legend of the Mystical Seal of Mount Fuji, another RPG for Game Boy Color from Konami. This Goemon game features RPG elements, focusing on solving the mystery of stone monuments and seals. Goemon needs to find 6 keys to unlock the seal of Mount Fuji and encounter over 100 types of yokai, Japanese spirits, monsters. Key gameplay points include making yokai your allies, combining yokai, and battling using communication cables. Finally, Super Bombless Deluxe is a puzzle game and an enhanced version of Bombless 2 Plus. It's described as having more dynamic explosion scenes and a new puzzle mode, with more power-ups. Key features are larger bombs created by combining 4 small bombs, and a puzzle mode with 100 stages. The game offers easy, normal, and hard difficulty settings. This page highlights 3 Game Boy Color games. First up is B-Daemon Bakugaiden V, Final Megatune, an RPG where you embark on an adventure with familiar B-Daemon characters. The goal is to travel through different eras and pilot the protagonist, Shiraban's B-Daemon. It mentions using communication cables for link battles and obtaining items from previous games. Next is Cooking Legend Bistro Recipe, Bistro Galm Edition, another RPG. This game focuses on collecting food ingredients and cooking, featuring a food-on battle where you fight using food. The preview mentions over 95 food-on characters, topping research screens, and cooking technique screens. You can also carry over food-on from the previous food-on battle game. Finally, there is Bomberman Max, Light Soldier / Dark Warrior, an action game. Here, Bomberman and Max team up to rescue character bombs, Caraban, across 5 planets. The game involves missions on each planet, and the rescued Caraban can be raised and used in battles. The screenshots show character raising and battle scenes. It also mentions infrared communication for battles. The next page showcases a trio of Game Boy Color titles. First up is Tetris Adventure, a puzzle game featuring Mickey Mouse and his Disney pals, set for release on November 12th. It's described as a Disney-themed Tetris game, where you can enjoy various rules and game modes alongside Mickey and other Disney characters. It mentions elements from the N64's Magical Tetris and Harmony Tetris. Next is Metal Walker GB, an RPG scheduled for December. This game involves equipping core units to strengthen your character, Metaboru. It's described as a new sensory battle system called Flick Battle, where you embark on an adventure. Then there's Meta Mode, an RPG from Koei, due in February 2000. The theme is Transformation, where you play as a member of the righteous group Cools, protecting the town from monsters. You use a tool called Meta Mode to transform into various forms, around 100 different types, to advance the story. Lastly, Little Magic is a puzzle action game from Ultron, also releasing on November 12th. This is based on the Super Famicom title Little Magic, and is described as a puzzle action game with 100+ stages. You guide the protagonist, Meggy, to carry magic stones to the goal gate, using 2 types of magic power, solving puzzles and clearing obstacles along the way. This page previews 4 upcoming Game Boy Color games. Yakochu GB, a text adventure from Athena, tasks players as a ship captain solving mysteries on a luxury liner. Metarot 2 Parts Collection, an RPG by Imagineer, lets players collect and battle with robot parts. Mina no Shogi Shokyu Hen, a shogi game from MTO, offers CPU battles, multiplayer via cable, puzzles, and beginner-friendly features supervised by a professional. Lastly, Pocket GT from MTO is a racing game with 24 courses and real-world locations, focusing on drift driving and unlocking new cars. This page introduces Guru Guru Galaxy, a currently available RPG for the Game Boy Color, priced at 4,300 yen. It highlights the unique gameplay system where everyday objects and animals become monsters or items, emphasizing it as a fun feature for beginners. The story begins when the protagonist, Unita, moves to Midorigaoka and his family's moving luggage is stolen. This event unexpectedly leads Unita to a grand adventure. He finds himself in a different world called Bring World, where he becomes a legendary hero, tasked with recovering the stolen luggage. The page details basic gameplay mechanics for exploring both the real world of Midorigaoka and the fantasy world of Bring World. It introduces Nice Talk as a method to befriend monsters and get them as companions. Another key feature is the ability to transform into various things using items found in the real world, which can be recorded using a digicam item. Screenshots illustrate the game's environments, battles, and character interactions, showcasing the town of Midorigaoka, dialogue scenes, and the monster befriending mechanic. The characters Pico and Poco are featured in relation to the monster befriending and item transformation systems, respectively. This page is a preview for the highly anticipated Pocket Monsters, which we know as Pokemon Gold and Silver in English. It's announced as a grand adventure, with a countdown to its release. The page highlights that there's only 1 month until the release on November 21st. It mentions the price is 3,800 yen, and it is an RPG for 1 player, supporting communication cable link-ups and featuring a built-in clock function. The article talks about how the game is set 1 month before the release, and excitement is building. It notes that players will again explore and collect Pokemon, like in the previous game, but details about the story are still unclear. It's also mentioned that time will progress in the game, similar to the real world, thanks to the built-in clock. Screenshots show the game's title screens, which differ between Gold and Silver versions, and also in-game graphics. Pokemon like Haneko, Hoppip, and Suicune are featured, alongside the player character. The page also points out differences in the packaging artwork for Gold and Silver, highlighting the legendary Pokemon Hu for Gold and Lugia for Silver. This page is about the beginning of the story in Pokemon Gold and Silver. It explains that the adventure starts when the protagonist is asked by Professor Elm to visit Mr. Pokemon. The player receives a mysterious egg from Mr. Pokemon. The page highlights that battles are a key part of the game, including battles against rivals and gym leaders. There's a spotlight on Mareep, and it mentions that gym leader Faulkner from the Kikyo Gym will appear. The page also advertises the Pocket Pikachu Color, a pedometer device launching on November 21st for 3,000 yen. It mentions its color screen and connectivity with Pokemon Gold and Silver cartridges, allowing players to send watts collected by walking to get items in the game. This page is focused on introducing exciting new moves for the upcoming Pokemon games, Gold and Silver. It highlights several new Pokemon like Chikorita, Totodile, Cyndaquil, Hoothoot, Marill, and Bellossom, showcasing some of their new moves such as Chikorita's Leaf Cutter, Totodile's Water Gun, and Cyndaquil's Ember. A key feature is a new blue bar in the battle screen, which is revealed to be an experience bar. This new element lets players track their Pokemon's level-up progress during battles, making it easier to see when they are close to gaining strength. The page suggests there are many more new moves to discover in the Gold and Silver games. This page introduces the time capsule feature in Pokemon Gold and Silver, which allows players to transfer Pokemon from the older Game Boy games, Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, and Pokemon Pikachu, Yellow. The article explains that the time capsule allows players to bring Pokemon they raised in the Red, Green, Blue Pikachu games into Gold and Silver. It notes some limitations, such as Pokemon in Gold and Silver that have learned new moves cannot be sent back to the older games. Similarly, new Pokemon introduced in Gold and Silver cannot be sent back either. The page also mentions a secret related to clearing Pokemon Stadium 2. Players who clear Pokemon Stadium 2 can receive a Bulbasaur as a gift that can be traded to Gold and Silver using the time capsule, which is presented as a desirable reward as it's not normally obtainable early in Gold and Silver. The page features screenshots of the time capsule interface in the games, Pokemon sprites like Venusaur, Togepi, and Levidian, and a trainer character named Megaki, who seems to be explaining the time capsule process. The Illustration Special Hall showcases fan art inspired by various Nintendo games. The introduction encourages submissions, acknowledging the changing seasons. The featured illustrations include art from Mother 2, Earthbound, with one piece anticipating Mother 3 and another depicting Ness in iconic locations. The Legend of Zelda is represented by scenes of Link with Navi, riding Yoshi, and with masks based on the August Space World gameplay. Other works include Ogre Battle, Pokemon, Survival Kids, and Mario Golf 64. Each artist, hailing from different prefectures, provides comments about their art. The page also displays merchandise, like character badges. This page is showcasing fan art submissions from readers centered around the theme of Deep Autumn, And next is the illustrations feature various Nintendo characters in autumnal settings. One section displays illustrations depicting deep autumn themes. We see art including Pikachu in an autumn scene, a scene with Mario and Princess Peach, and Link from The Legend of Zelda painting autumn leaves. Another illustration shows Goombas amongst fallen leaves, and another depicts Link lying amongst autumn leaves. There's also an image of a fox reading a book under an autumn tree, and finally, an image of a girl holding autumn leaves. The illustration fan letter section contains fan letters and more artwork. One illustration is titled Paint Studio 64 and shows someone drawing on a Paint Studio canvas. The illustration 10 years old or younger section features artwork from younger readers, including drawings of Kirby and friends, and another drawing seemingly about moon viewing. This page highlights fan-made illustrations inspired by various games. Several submissions feature characters from Tactics Ogre, Mother 3, and Fire Emblem, with artists sharing their motivations and appreciation for the games. The Fire Emblem piece highlights collaborative art. Multiple Zelda-themed works are present, including underwater scenes, depictions of Link with a horse-like creature referencing a side story, and interpretations of Link's character. Other illustrations showcase characters from games like Ogre Battle 64 and feature Pikachu, Gundam Wing Zero, and Getter Love. The art reflects the artist's enjoyment and creative interpretations of the games. Go for it! Mario Boss Gang presents 4 4-panel comics. The first comic, 4 Coma Forest, satirizes Winback. Link Day references The Legend of Zelda. Thoughts on Ogre Battle 64 discusses party changes in Ogre Battle 64. The fourth comic, Pink Stone Dew, is less clear. The page also includes 4 illustrations. Kirateru Katachi, Poo Poo Boo, featuring Link, Beef Stroke, a food dish, and Kirby 64, featuring Kirby and Ganon's Dash. There's an advertisement inviting submissions of fan art, character illustrations, and 4 Coma manga, with prizes awarded for accepted entries. Finally, a section lists monthly rank and special winners, likely related to submissions. This page is dedicated to Winback, revealing hidden modes and conditions for unlocking battle characters. It highlights Trial Mode, which appears after clearing Story Mode, allowing players to compete for scores in each stage. Max Power Mode unlocks by clearing Story Mode on Normal or Hard, with a total score of 20,000 points or more, granting unlimited ammo with weapons excluding C4 bombs and rocket launchers. Sudden Death Mode becomes available by clearing Hard Story Mode within 5 hours, where both players and enemies die with a single hit. The page also details how to unlock playable boss characters in Versus Mode by accumulating points. Reaching score thresholds unlocks characters, starting with Layla at 13,000 points, then Leon, Ryan, Thunder, Dake, Gant, Banderas, Jin, Deathmask, and finally Cecil at 31,000 points. The top banner also mentions other games featured in this section, such as Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, Perfect Dark, and Bangayo. This page focuses on gameplay tips and ending conditions for different N64 games. Firstly, it details the ending conditions for Winback. To get different endings, bad, good, or best, depends on your playtime in Mission 23 and Mission 26. The bad ending occurs if you take over 5 hours to complete Mission 23. For the good ending, Mission 23 must be completed in under 5 hours, but taking over 6 hours for Mission 26 leads to this ending. The best ending is achieved by completing both Mission 23 and Mission 26 in under 5 and 6 hours respectively. The page then moves on to Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, specifically showing a shortcut in the Abyss course. By using the 3D stick and C right button at a specific point on the right side of the course, you can make your pod racer jump and take a shortcut. Finally, the page introduces command techniques for J-League JICU Winning 11-4, which is known internationally as International Superstar Soccer 99. It provides button commands for overseas clubs, Japan Dream and World Dream teams, and a hidden player face select feature. This page dives into some dream techniques for N64 games. First up is Load Runner 3D, showcasing hidden commands. You can skip levels, select levels, enter secret worlds, change camera mode, unlock worlds, and even alter the graphics using button inputs while holding the Z trigger and going to the options screen. Next, For Bangai-O, there's a cheat to unlock all stages right from the start. Apparently someone figured this out even though the manual hinted at it. They mentioned you can access all 44 stages using this secret command. Moving on to Winback, there are hidden background music tracks. By going to the options screen, selecting Sound, and then navigating to BGM volume, you can cycle through different music tracks by pressing the A button. For F-Cup Maniacs, the page reveals you can change character costumes. By holding the R trigger during character selection, you can choose different outfits for the fighters, even leading to some interesting poses. Returning to Winback, there's a discussion about the ending role. Apparently, in the special thanks section, the name Ki-I Iwasaki appears, and the magazine wonders if this person is the voice actor for the game, noting they also worked on Tsuyubi no Campanella game software. Finally, for Bangai-O again, it seems the artwork style changes after you clear the game once. The picture displayed on the score screen becomes different, with a "Peace at last" message, indicating a visual reward for completing the game. This page is packed with game tips and information. There are tips for Fighting Transmission, F-Cup Maniacs. One tip for the Sugoroku mode says you can press the L trigger to move quickly. Another tip for the game reveals that if you press the L or R trigger when selecting a game mode, the screen will shake for no apparent reason. Next, there are cheat codes for the Game Boy Color game Pocket GT. Entering button combinations at the title screen unlocks all car types, all tuning parts, and all courses. For Koro Q Hyper Customable GB on Game Boy Color, there's a password to unlock hidden parts. After getting Choro Q, you go to System and Change Name, and enter the password Ikaru TTE Shita QN Yoros to get special parts like Ultimate Bio and Hyper Painbringer. Finally, there's a big recruitment section, calling for gamers to submit their own game techniques for the magazine's Dream Techniques section. There are prizes on offer, like games and merchandise, depending on the rank of the technique. The page also shows examples of how to write and send in a postcard submission. This N64 software catalog previews 9 upcoming games. Release dates are being finalized, and 64DD starter kit contents are becoming clear. The games include RPGs like Mother 3, King of Pigs Last Days, Super Mario RPG 2, and Robot Pankatsu 64. Action titles are also featured, such as Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Conker's Bad Fur Day, delayed for quality, Donkey Kong 64, The Legend of Zelda Gaiden, Custom Robo, and Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness. Donkey Kong 64 and Custom Robo are due in December '99. Many titles are from Nintendo, with Hudson and Konami also contributing. The previews hint at intriguing storylines, unique gameplay mechanics, and potential fan favorites. This page highlights several upcoming N64 games. Notable titles include Bomberman 64, The Second Attack, a 4-player battle game, Resident Evil 2, a survival horror game, 64 Wars, a simulation war game linked to Game Boy Wars 2, and Super Robot Wars 64, a simulation RPG. Other games previewed are Chanbara Fighter, Yakuchu 2, Satsujin Koro, a flight simulator, provisional title, Panel de Pon 64, provisional title, Puyo Puyon Party, Nazotoki Kantoro Challenge Puzzle 64, Star Twins, and Perfect Dark, provisional title. These games span various genres, from puzzle and action to simulation and survival horror, offering a diverse lineup for N64 players. Release dates range from late 1999 to early 2000, with some titles having provisional titles. This page previews several upcoming Nintendo 64 games. Anticipation surrounds Daikatana, a cyberpunk 3D shooter. Viewpoint 2064, a shooting game, has been delayed. Shigesato Itoi's #1 bass fishing, Definitive Edition, aims to simulate real bass fishing. Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 features over 100 wrestlers. Ultra Baseball Jitsumaven 64 has no new info, but promises chaotic baseball. Mario Party 2 focuses on enjoyable stage gimmicks and minigames. Ganbare Goemon, Mononoke Sugoroku combines card battles and board games. Professional Instruction Mahjong Hyo 64 offers intense mahjong matches. Excite Bike 64 elevates course editing. Slippy Rascals features a fun tag mode, but the release date is uncertain. Revolt offers unique RC car racing, and on and off racing includes both on-road and off-road courses. This software catalog showcases upcoming N64 games. Racing games include Beetle Adventure Racing, Top Gear Rally 2, Top Gear Hyperbike, Wipeout 64, Rev Limit, and Choro Q64-2. Hachimecha Grand Prix Race, Penny Racers, and etc. category features Animal Leader, a quirky title from the Jungle Park creators. The ACT section previews Zelda no Densetsu DD, Zelda DD, a tentative 64DD Zelda game. SLG includes SimCity 64, Cabbage, a 64DD strategy game, and Gendai Dai Senryaku Ultimate War, a 64DD strategy game with potential online features via the 64DD network. This page previews upcoming Nintendo 64 and 64DD games and peripherals. Notable 64DD titles include Wall Street, a finance simulation, and Japanese Professional Golf Tour 64, and Yosuke Ide's Mahjong Club, both delayed for online multiplayer implementation. Shogi is also planned with online play. The F-Zero X expansion kit, a racing game, offers extensive course and car creation. For the Game Boy player, Mario Artist series titles include Paint Studio, Polygon Studio, and Talent Studio, all focusing on creative expression. Soundmaker, a music creation tool with Koji Kondo involvement, is also mentioned. Giant Dostin 1, Doshin the Giant, from Param, features a giant protagonist making choices that affect island inhabitants. DTDD version, a card game with RPG elements, is from Game Studio. Finally, the page highlights the Controller Bros, a series of 6 colored Nintendo 64 controllers. This page is an advertisement for a Nintendo 64-themed calendar for the year 2000, produced by 64Dream magazine. It is a special reader service project to celebrate the millennium. The calendar features Nintendo characters like Link, Kirby, and Yoshi, and promises to decorate your room. The page lists instructions on how to apply for the calendar. To apply, you need to cut out the application form, attach a 1,000 yen unused postage stamp, and fill in your address, name, and phone number in black or blue ballpoint pen. The deadline for applications is December 1st. The calendar itself is described as having 12 pages with different game illustrations chosen by 64Dream, and it comes in a clear case to be used as a stand. The images can be cut out and used as postcards. A list of games that will be featured in the calendar includes Donkey Kong 64, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Stadium, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Pokemon Stadium, Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, Japan-only release, Star Fox 64, Yoshi Story, Mario Golf 64, Mario Party, Banjo-Tooie, Mario Party 2, Mario Kart 64. This page is a Reader's Prize giveaway from the magazine. Prizes include a standard Nintendo 64 console with controllers, and 5 sets of Controller Bros, which are likely controller packs for multiplayer. A single lucky reader can win a gold Nintendo 64 console. For handheld gamers, there's a Game Boy Color Pokemon 3rd Anniversary Edition and a standard Game Boy Color also being given away as single prizes each. 10 people can win a Pokemon Snap special camera set, featuring a special camera and print set themed around the game. Software prizes include 2 Murder Voyage from Athena and Night Bug GB, a Game Boy Color exclusive title from Hori Electric. 3 winners will also receive Win Back for the N64, along with a Hyper Guidebook. For controller enthusiasts, 25 people can win a HoriPad Mini 64 controller from Hori Electric. Finally, 5 people can win a Pocket GT neckpiece from MTO. This page presents the 64Dream magazine's reader survey. It asks readers for feedback on the current issue's cover and articles, asking them to rate these from very good to very bad. Readers are then asked to pick their top 3 best and worst articles from a provided list. This list includes articles on games like Castlevania 64, Resident Evil 2, Custom Robo, Snowboard Kids, SimCity 64, and various Mario Artist titles. The survey also asks readers to choose their top 3 most anticipated upcoming N64 and 64DD games from another list. This list features titles such as Excitebike 64, F-Zero X Expansion Kit, Custom Robo, SimCity 64, Paper Mario, Snowboard Kids, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Perfect Dark, Resident Evil 2, Bomberman 64, The Second Attack, Beetle Adventure Racing, Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, and the unreleased Mother 3 for N64. Additionally, the page highlights reader prizes for participating in the survey, including N64 consoles and game-related merchandise. There's also a column called Ann Kate's Viewpoint, which features a reader's story about their child accidentally resetting their Pokemon game and losing a rare Mew, a relatable gaming mishap. Finally, the survey asks for recommended Game Boy games and games readers have been moved to tears by. This page announces the release of the 64Dream January issue on November 20th, a Saturday, priced at 490 yen. The next menu section highlights upcoming features, including thorough coverage of Pokemon Gold and Silver and Donkey Kong 64 as key N64 titles for the end of the year. The magazine also teases original for 64Dream related to Pokemon Gold and Silver. The editor's voice section contains editorial opinions and comments. The page also includes a staff section listing magazine personnel and contact information for the editorial department and back issues, plus a small comic strip at the top right. This page is an advertisement for the Japanese release of the adventure game Yakuchu, which translates to Glowfly. The advert highlights that it is set 4 years after a previous event, with the tagline, 4 years since then, something will happen again on the sea route. It promotes 2 versions of the game, one for the Game Boy Color and another for the Nintendo 64, both published by Athena. The release date is stated as October 22, 1999. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Memory Cartridge service, launching in November 1999. This service allows players to rewrite games onto a special cartridge. For November, games like The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX, Kirby's Dream Land 2, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, and various Super Mario Land and Donkey Kong titles are available for rewriting. In December, new titles will be added, including Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, Donkey Kong Land, and Kirby's Star Stacker, with the rewriting service for these new titles priced at 1,000 yen. The GB memory cartridge itself is priced at 2,500 yen, and a special bundle with Super Mario Land 3 is also offered.